This is what our weather currently looks like, and whenever it is like this, it's the perfect day to stay inside and do something creative like crafting. Crafting and hot cocoa sound good right now. So let me show you what we're gonna get into. Even the living room looks really cozy. You wanna go out? You wanna go out? Not a muscle moved. Okay, so I want to use some of these designer leather swatches, I think, that I found at the our local recycle center, and I purchased a ton of them. I purchased every single one I could find that was in decent condition. I sold a lot of them on eBay, and I kept the rest for myself because I think they're the perfect size for making journals, especially these more miniature sized journals that has been on my make list for a while that I haven't gotten to. So I figured it'd be the perfect day to tackle it. We've got a variety of different colors and textures here, and I'm saving some of my favorite colors for like this turquoise. I'm just gonna save it until I actually am a little bit better at this and I know what I'm doing. So these are gonna be the ones that I learn with. And if they don't turn out, then I'll keep it. But if they turn out okay, then I will go ahead and post them in my shop. So this is what it says on the back of it, but I don't think I'm going to try to get these papers off the back because I already tried and they come off a little bit, but not all the way. So I'll peel what I can off, and then I'm going to also be adding fabric or paper backing to these, so the paper won't really matter ultimately. Okay, this is what I have so far. This is going to be like a mid-size, and I rounded the corners the best I could. This is going to be a smaller size, so all of these will be folded in half. This is the only one that I'm going to attempt for it to be like a flat fold, and that's going to be one of the miniature size journals. I used the scraps to make 3 bookmarks, which I will embellish later, and then this is maybe going to be the closure for that one. And then I took these 2 blues because they pretty much are the exact same. I think they are. They're going to be the only one with square corners, and I'm going to put the corner, what do you call it, like the metal corners on these. So now I think I'm going to go ahead and sand all of these and burnish the edges, which I've never done, so we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to see if this paper is heavy enough that it can go inside, and if not, then I'm going to use watercolor paper because I want these to be able to be painted, drawn, written, whatever, for them to be mixed media journals. Oh no, guess I need to be careful. So I just want to smooth the edges. Especially I'm thinking on the corners. I'm new to working with leather, so if anybody knows, I'm using 150 grit sandpaper, so I don't know if that's too rough and I need something finer. I'm just going with what I have here. And I need to get a burnisher so that I can then I can finish the edges. So see how it's kind of slightly uneven? I'm trying to smooth everything out. I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'm going to keep messing with these and then I'll come back when I have it to where I'm happy with it. It is subtle, but I can definitely see the difference between the edges I've done versus the edge that I haven't done. So I think it's worth doing. I want the final product to be a little rugged, but not quite this rugged. And I'll show you what I mean when I get to the burnishing. Okay, so according to Gemini, this paper is perfect for mixed media. So it's not quite as heavy as watercolor paper, but it is suitable for paint and drawing and sketching, and it is suitable for mixed media, which is what I want journals to be for. And as you can see, I thrifted this. It was half off that price. So I'm so excited that I can use this because I pride myself on making the journals with sustainable materials. So anytime I can get the paper secondhand, that's a win. Because that's one of my favorite things about junk journal. Almost everything, if not everything, is secondhand materials. So with the blank journals, this was sort of a struggle. So I'm glad I'm gradually finding my way to be able to do this. It's really big. I mean, they're this size, so I can pretty much cut them down to fit in all the different journals. Now that's what I'm going to do. Oh yeah, that's a good weight. Not as heavy as cardstock, which will be way too thick, but just slightly lighter weight than watercolor, but definitely heavy enough to paint on. Woo. Okay, these are all sanded down, but I do not have the little tool to burnish the edges, so I can use my, what is it called? Edge finisher, kind of like a paint that goes around the edges specific for leather. So I'm going to test it out on the bookmarks and see how I like that. And I'm going to go to the craft store and get the burnisher too, so I can try both methods and show you which one I like better. But because that I'm not doing right this second, so in the meantime, I will get the papers ready for each of these journals. Okay, I'll show you the method for the first one, and then I'll do the rest off camera so you don't have to watch this. Okay, so I'm folding it, and I want to leave a little bit here for the papers to stack. So this is essentially going to be the spine. So then, sorry, my dog's snoring in the background. My videos soothe her to sleep every time. But no, she's like 80 in dog years. All right, so that looks good. So then I'll mark here and then flip it over and mark about right here, and the rest will be the spine. I'll make a line. And I think this will be a little big, and then I can cut it down, and then let me cut this out and see how that is. Okay, I guess this is going to be our test one because I've pretty much destroyed this paper. I think it's a good fit, except I want it to be not flush with the edges, so cut it down a bit. So I like it about like that, with a little bit on each side. You can see. So this will work. I'm just going to do this. This will be the template, and I'll just get as many of these as I can fit to make this a little thick little portable journal. And then I'll have to do that for every size, but I think what I want to do is finish out one journal and then move on to the next one, because if I make any mistakes, I don't make it on all of them. So this will be that, because this one is slightly imperfect, but it's not so imperfect that it wouldn't be usable. But see how this is a little imperfect there on the leather. But that's the nature of this leather. It's supposed to age and get more distressed and everything, so it's fine. Okay, it just dawned on me after cutting several of these that it would be probably easier and quicker to just measure the squares and put these into the Cricut, insert rectangles shaped like this, and then have the Cricut cut the rest of these for me, because it's going to be so much faster and more accurate. So I think I'm going to go ahead and measure out all of the journals. Then I'll just spend a good hour having the Cricut cut them all out. But it'll be still faster than me doing them by hand. So here's the dimensions of all the different sizes I'm going to do. And I'm just inserting a rectangle and sizing it down to those dimensions and putting as many on one mat as I can, and then sending it over to my Cricut. Okay, so I got this little edge finisher, if you can see the little wooden tool there. That combined with water, you can use a variety of things, but I'm using water. And then I'm supposed to be able to just go back and forth with this burnishing tool and finish off smooth the edges. I found it wasn't working. As you can see, they look the exact same. Then I realized some types of leather don't take to this tool. So now I'm getting out option number 2, which is called edge coat. And it's like paint that just goes around the edges of the leather. But I already had a bunch of leather making tools, so I'm excited to actually be able to use some of them. I don't know if I'll need these, but these create holes in the leather where then I can insert my stitches. But I don't think I'll need these for today. I am going to use this, I think it's called a dauber. I like it, but it is hard to control how much of the paint is going on, so I'm just trying to do the best I can to keep it on the edge. All right, so I just Googled what the next step is, and I'm supposed to let that dry completely, the edge paint, and then sand the edges down to make them smoother, then apply another coat of edge paint. So this is a very tedious process. Part of me is just like, why did I not just leave the edges raw at this point? I don't know if this is worth it. I really don't. Maybe doing one journal, but not a bunch. I've decided I'm not going to do this big journal. I won't have time, and I'm not going to deal with the bookmarks till later. That still leaves me with this miniature journal, this mid-sized gray one, this other miniature one, and I also have this large size, pretty large compared to the others, but still small. Okay, so now I'm putting the next coat of edge paint on, or edge coat, whatever. This time I'm trying it with a Q-tip to see if I can have better control. I right away can tell I don't like using the Q-tip any better than the dauber. And so I got one of these wooden, it's like a knitting needle or something. I have a bunch of them. I was going to use them for hair accessories, but I decided to use one for this. And this I actually prefer. I have more control. And I'm able to get a nice thick amount on there. Like it's not absorbent, so it's not taking the paint in. It's just applying it right onto the leather. So this ends up being the best solution for me. And maybe I would do this again, knowing like now what works and what doesn't. Yeah, but part of me just did want the edges finished, so I'm learning how to do that. I wish I could have gotten them smoother, but I just, at a certain point, I was like, you know what, they're done. So after cutting all of my pages, these are the scrapped papers, and I'm realizing some of them are big enough to be miniature sized journals for a later time. So I'm just setting those to the side. Some I'm going to use for storing my trim on, but the rest I want to go ahead and use these stamps and create some handmade postcards and handmade tags. So I just go ahead and crank out a bunch of these at once. So that way, whenever I make a journal, I already have a batch of these so I can do the handmade tag, or I can add, I might want to like do a batch of postcards at a later time. So I just have these ready to go. And this is probably enough for like 2 years for me. Like that was a lot. There's just piles of it. So now I have the fun job of folding all of the pages in half. And because this is going to literally take forever, I will not keep you here while I do this very, very boring job. Okay, so I still have to sand a few of these edges that are still too rough. I couldn't get them all the way smooth, but I really did try. I got to the point again where I just had to say, okay, well, it's not super jagged. I mean, it's not as smooth as I would have liked, obviously, but I had to just call it finished at a certain point. I don't think my sandpaper was strong enough. Okay, so I decided to glue these on foam, and I made the mistake of having these dry, and then the next day I glued one on the back. So that that didn't work out. I was only able to keep the little one on there. Now I'm applying beeswax, which is supposed to give the edge, the final piece to the edge. It gives it a nice smooth finish, or kind of a glossy coating. And I use the canvas to rub the beeswax in. And that is the final step on the edges of these leather. So if you want to finish your leather edges, good luck and good riddance to you. This was a process. All right, now I'm poking holes where my elastic is going to go so that my inserts can be removable. I'm using my leather punch to punch these, but it's not long enough to go into the center, so I use an awl for the very center hole. Now I'm selecting papers and just tracing out so these can be the covers of my inserts. And there they all are. Now I thought I could save some time by just stapling these together, but my stapler unfortunately was not strong enough. So that means I need to do pamphlet stitches on all of these booklets, but that's okay because it has more of that handmade look to it. But I decided to save myself some time this time around and use my husband's drill. So I just had this grid, like this grid shelf to work on. So I just kind of am making sure that it's within one of the squares so I don't come down on the metal. And then I'm going to drill all of my holes at once, and then I'm going to stitch all of the journals together at once. I'm so glad I ended up doing the drill because I enjoyed this far more than manually poking through with my awl. So going forward, all of my journals, I'm going to drill the holes on. This actually worked out because I have so much of this thread and now I can use some of it to sew all these different inserts. So I'm just going to pick out a few colors and then decide which ones, but it's always nice when I can use up something that I have a lot of, and I definitely have a lot of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the pamphlet stitch, which is the only method that I have been doing for all of my journals. The 3-hole pamphlet stitch, it's super easy, and I'll show you one and then I'll do all of the rest of them off camera. One down, this many more to go. Okay, unfortunately, when I folded the papers, there's still that like sticking out. So now it completely doesn't matter that the Cricut cut these perfectly because I have to manually go in and trim off the remainder, like that part that's sticking out. Oh God. So this was a pain, and I couldn't get the corners to be perfectly round like they were, so this was a very imperfect process, but this is just me doing the best I can to get that edge more flush. And then I went through and manually cut the corners to the best of my ability. Okay, so I'm going to show you 1, 2, 3, 4 completed journals, all using the leather that I had and all being first for me. So you can see there are imperfections. Like here I got the leather edge paint. Am I saying that right? as I was doing the leather edge paint, I got a little bit of it onto the leather. So there are definitely imperfections on these. I used one of the conches I had and an elastic for the closure. And then, so this is felt I put on the inside, brain part there. And then this has, they all have about the same amount of pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sheets, and then obviously the other side. So there's that one. And then what I did, because each one could only, this was another mistake I made. I only made one hole here and here, so I could only do one insert. So the next time I do it, obviously I'll do, because I did it in the center, I couldn't really go back and undo it. Next time I'll do one a little over here and then over here so that I could have 2 inserts. Maybe some I might even do 3 inserts. So each one I'm just including a separate insert, and I think I am going to post these and just see how they go on my Etsy and eBay and just price them really like super affordable because they do have errors. But I really like, I like how the conch looks on this one. And then I just flip that around to the back side. And okay, so this is number 1. Okay, I wonder if I should include ephemera packs with these or just sell them plain. What do you think? Okay, the next one, I really like the colors. So this is the spare one, and it really plays well off the stone I have here tied around. And this one is attached. So this oh no, it's not attached. This one is not attached. So that comes off. And I did the same thing on the spine on all of them. So I learned from that I actually don't want to do things in bulk, because if I make one mistake, then I make a lot of mistakes. And I think I said at one point I wasn't going to do that, but I'm so used to working in batches that I just like by default went back into batch mode. So this one also has felt, which I really like the felt on the inside. I think I'm going to keep with that on the next ones I do. I just like the texture. It plays well. It's a nice complement to the leather. So this one does, it has about the same amount of pages. And then I did struggle. I had the Cricut cut my pages, but then naturally, like some of them, when you fold them in half, some of them stick out a little bit. So then I had to go back and slice them by hand as you saw me do. And I wasn't able to get them perfect, like the corners. But I mean, when it's a handmade journal, it's never going to be perfect. So the other idea I was toying around with was, should I embellish the covers? But because this experiment is all about plain journals, for the person who receives it to fully customize it, I'm leaving them totally blank, and we're going to run the experiment. So let me know if you want me to keep you posted on how any of these do, if any of them find homes. This one I used an old map, so of course there's imperfections on it, but that just adds to it in my opinion. And I don't think I mentioned this, but they all have the different thread. And then this one, I like how the blue and the brown go well together. This one might be the most like professional of all of them, but look how little it is. It's so cute. This one probably came out the best. The edges are pretty smooth overall. I don't think I really made any huge mistakes on the edge paint. And this one is attached. So there you are. So there's that one. I guess the downside to the felt is it collects things. I guess I can lint roll it before I take photos of these. And then the rocks on these, it's like, okay, let's try that again. The rock slides, but it's easier to slide when it's in this unstretched state. So there's that one. And then next up is my favorite. This is my second favorite. The tiniest of them all with the little flap closure. And then I added this, I think this is a faux leather. Yeah, this is a faux leather little stamped thing. And then this stays connected. This opens. And this one I was able to squeeze two in there, even though it's just the single binding. And I did the, oh, this is, oh no, okay, so I did do two on this one. So I must have done this one last. So that turned out well. I like how the orange and the turquoise look together. So I showed my sister this one and she's like, what would you use it for? It's so small. I know. It's not really very practical at all, yet this is my favorite one. And it has the paper so you could do like, you could actually paint on here if you wanted to do really small painting or sketching. I just love how small it is, honestly. You could add it, almost add it as a charm on a bag. I didn't put a like loop on it or anything. So it is literally just the tiniest little journal. If you're interested on actual sizes of these, just click on the link in the description on this video and all of these will be in both my eBay and my Etsy shop. But yeah, this one actually has imperfections. You can see the edges, or you can feel the edges are, you know, the edges are pretty smooth overall. On this one, it's the edge paint again. I struggled to keep it right on the edge. But overall, I'm just really happy with it. And I'm happy with all of them because now I know how to make leather journals and I can use my scraps. And I may even put more scrap lots together for other people because I just don't know realistically how many I can make. So yes, I'm so excited now. I have a way to use a lot of the leather that's just been collecting dust in the boxes in my garage. So really, really happy with how these turned out. Let me know what you think. Should I make more leather journals in this like plain travel style? I think I definitely will, but I have a few other projects lined up in the meantime. So thanks so much for being here, hanging out, and supporting my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next project. Peace.